They see me rolling, they hate it.
Hello, this is John Green and this is Crash Course West Potomac. Today we're going to be learning about Russia. You've probably heard some things about Russia. It's been in the news lately. Today we're going to focus on everything but that. Let's start with a quick history.
Mr. Green,
What is it, Me from the Past?
what are the 3 time periods of Russian history?
Great question, Me from the Past. Russia is characterized by 3 time periods. The first is from the 14th to the early 20th century, long period of autocratic rule by Tsars. The second spans from 1917 to 1991 and is characterized by 20th century rule by the Communist Party. The third is from 1991 to the present. This final period is characterized by an abrupt regime change to procedural democracy and free market. This was called shock therapy and was implemented by President Boris Yeltsin. And since President Boris Yeltsin's rule in 1991, the Constitution of 1993 was created. Prime Minister Vladimir Putin became president in 2000. A new president was elected in 2008. His name was Dmitry Medvedev. And then Putin ran for president and won again in the election of 2012. And now I'd like to bring in my Russian friend Vikolak to tell us about the rights enjoyed by Russian citizens.
Hello, my friends. In Russia we have lots of rights, like in America. For example, you can protest, as long as you're not protesting government. You're okay. Putin will shut you down if you decide to criticize him. Bloggers have been arrested for saying things they should not say, because naturally that is how you keep a regime in power. In Russia we have free press. If you speak out against government, government will press you to the ground with a steamroller and kill you for free. Russia does not allow gay propaganda, and Jehovah's Witnesses is a terrorist organization in Russia.
Actually, Russians don't have the same rights Americans do. Protesters are routinely arrested, political opposition to Putin is routinely suppressed. Bloggers have been arrested for being critical of the Russian government. The government declared Jehovah's Witness an extremist organization, and they have a ban on gay propaganda. Now, this lack of rights might just be the reason why immigration into Russia is not very high. They do have systems in place, however, such as the 1951 United States Convention relating to the status of refugees. 1996, laws on entry and exit were created. In the early 2000s, the government made efforts to reduce illegal immigration. And in 2007, immigrants from countries with visa-free entry could apply for a permit. Now we're going to talk about Russian foreign policy.
Russia has consistently advocated an inclusive and positive agenda aimed at not restricting but rather amplifying ties between states. Our country stands ready to join efforts with all those who are equally willing to cooperate in line with the principles of equality, mutual respect, mutual benefit, and the norms of international law, as well as the recognition of the central role of the United Nations in global affairs.
Okay, but actually, the other main goals of Russia's foreign policy are to remain immune to Western civilization and the expansivist influence. They will do whatever it takes, including but not limited to influencing elections in an attempt to create unrest in Western countries, seeing unmarked, masked, not Russian, totally not Russian troops in areas like Crimea take control, forming relationships with leaders like Assad to expand their influence, and many other things. Russia is also part of many international organizations. They joined the World Trade Organization in 2012. They are part of the WPR, committed to opening their markets. They are a member of BRICS. They annexed Crimea, and the conflict in Ukraine deeply affected international relations. Cooperation with NATO has been suspended. They still remain partners with the European Union. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about the elephant in the room: corruption.
There is no corruption in Russia. None whatsoever. Please, Vladimir, free my family. Please, something.
Alright, I'm back. Because the USSR dissolved without reconstruction plans and state-owned companies needed to be sold off, many of these businesses went to a couple dozen oligarchs, who to this day have a major influence on government policy. The average bribe in 2011 was 26 times greater than the average bribe in 2008. The World Bank estimates that the cost of corruption, or shadow economy, is 48% of Russia's GDP. There have been attempts to pass legislation which would combat corruption, such as Boris Yeltsin's decree that the fight against corruption is in the public service, as well as the Russian anti-corruption campaign and the National Corruption Plan. However, there has not been much progress, as those creating the anti-corrupt laws are seen to be the most corrupt. Russia has scored 29 out of 100 when it comes to corruption, and their rank is 131st out of 176. For comparison, the US has scored 74 out of 100, and 18 out of 176, and Nigeria scored 28 out of 100 and 136 out of 176. Alright, now let's talk about the economy. How much of the centralized economy should be eliminated? How should the market be handled? Privatization or state control? Well, in 2010, Medvedev planned to sell off $100 billion in state assets. Putin shifted back to state capitalist model. State-owned companies like Rosneft and Gazprom monopolize their industries. Other countries like the US know how important Russia is to the global economy. This helps foreign relationships a little bit. We've sent aid packages their way. All this directly affects the Russian people, and the Russian population has fluctuated a lot. It peaked in the early 90s. Population has suffered a dramatic drop. Low birth rates, poor health habits, and many alcohol-related deaths. One solution. The Russian government is encouraging Russians that live abroad to come home through repatriation programs. Well, we hope you enjoyed and learned even more than you ever could have imagined. Thanks for watching. I'm John Gray.
They see me rolling, they hating, patrolling and trying to catch me riding dirty.